Okie dokie. So now I'm going to show you how to make this cute little wallet. It is just to hold your cards. You could put a bit of cash in there, might even have a lotto ticket in there, you never know, might win. So this is just a handy little wallet that you can make for your handbag, or if you're just going out for a walk and you can put in your pocket. My one is just waiting for my little button. I must sew on my button, which is that one. And, oops. And all you do is you use a product that we sell a lot of, and it's called Gygli. Now, Gygli is a fabric interfacing. This one is iron-on. You can also get sew-on, but you want to use the iron-on one for this job. And there's lightweight, medium weight, and heavy. I am using the medium weight. So I've chosen a couple of fabrics here, and I've cut my pattern out. So the pattern you have received looks like that, and you simply trace out a full-size pattern and then you cut it out of Gygli. You do not need to cut your fabric out till after you've stitched it, so it's a really quick and easy thing to make. So what I've done is I have got my lovely fabric here. I'm going to put my iron-on Gygli here, and I'm going to allow my 6mm seam down that bottom so I don't have to cut that one because it makes sense. And I'm going to make sure that my bee is up the right way. So when I fold it back, which way do I want my bee? Let me just have a look. Well, my bee's bottom's going to be up the right way. So with this interfacing, it is completely different than ironing iron-on Palin. I do not want to put a cloth over the top. I do want to make sure the shiny side is facing down, and I need to put quite a lot of heat onto this. It is an extremely strong fabric interfacing, and it will not stick unless you have a lot of heat. So my iron's nice and hot, so I'm literally holding it for the count of, say, 6. But my iron I have turned up so it's very, very hot, and you can see it's sticking very, very well. When I do use this product for a bag, I actually use an iron press, so I make sure that it's ironed on very, very, very well, because it's a strong product. So I love the fabric interfacings, the iron-on ones, because they stick. Look how well that's stuck. It's very good. I still do iron it from this side as well, just so that my fabric is nice and flat. I love this fabric. I reckon it's really nice. So there I can see it's really, really well ironed on. So I decided after making these that you really don't need to cut them out. So I'm just going to press this fabric as well and make sure there are no creases in that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly the same as I did before. Oops, I'm going to do it this way. Is I'm going to stay stitch one side down the bottom. So I'm going to stay stitch this little bit, which means I'm going to put my stitch length on 2. Now what I've done is I've put my 1/4 inch foot back on again. Not drastic that I use a 1/4 inch foot. There's my stay stitch, cut. Right side are going to go to right side, so there's my other side. So I'm just going to do a stay stitch on this side as well in the same place. So intelligent. The only time this fails is if you do what I did one other time and put my stay stitch on the wrong side. I don't know how I did it. So now I know my stay stitching is at the same side as I'm stitching. For this is so simple. All I'm going to do is lay my fabrics together like that, and I'm going to use my clips and roughly clip my fabric together. I don't have to be too precise because I'm now making my pattern by stitching around exactly around the outside of my fabric. It's very, very cool because you don't really have to do too much work. So I don't have to use a 1/4 inch foot, but I really like it because it's easy. So what I'm going to do now is clear my stitch length so it's back to my normal 2.5. Now this time I'm not going to go across my corner. I'm going to do exactly to my pattern of my iron-on interfacing. I'm going to stitch exactly beside my iron-on interfacing. Not on it, not away from it, right beside it. So I'm just going to stitch down. Make sure your needle stop down function's on. Come down to your corner. The needle will stop in the work. Turn your corner. This is why I love the hover. The hover means when I stop with my needle down, my foot lifts up and hovers automatically. So good. Now I'm sewing down to my point, and then I'm going to start my curving. So when I'm curving, I do not want to try and sew it all at once. I'm going to stop with my needle down and turn my work. So I'm coming up to my point, and I'm going to lift up, and I'm going to sew as far as I can before I want to stop. Turn it a little bit, do a stitch, turn it a little bit, do a stitch, do a stitch, do a stitch. If you want a nice curve, this is what you do. And look, I can do it all in one hand because I've got my hover on. Sometimes you can do more than one, just depending on how you go. Once you get around, then you can do your straight edge. And it's great, right? Because you've got your interfacing to follow as a seam. You don't have to think where you're stitching. Okay, just slow down when you come to the hover part. 2 there. 1. 1. It's wonderful. Just have to learn to slow down. Haven't I got good as I've got older? Quite incredible, really. Who would have thought? I wouldn't have thought I'd ever slow down, but you do. It's a fact of life. And it makes for neater sewing. Okay, once you can go all the way around without any problem, you sew down to the point. Lift, go straight down to the other end. When you get to the end, lift and turn, flatten your work down. One more stitch by the looks, and lift and turn. Oh no, the cat's back, watch out. And then come down to the end. You'd think he'd get the message, but clearly he doesn't. Oh my goodness, hi. And reverse at your opening. Oh. No. He's being extremely nosy today. Now what you're going to do is you're going to clip across here. Clip across this corner, and you're going to trim this back to 1/4 inch. Maybe he's going to become a sewing cat. And go right into your point, and then you're just going to clip around, cut around 1/4 inch seam. You're not clipping anything. All the way around. Hi. His name's Zed, and you can see he's extremely needy. And you don't have to be too fussy. Go across your corners and across there. So what you've got is your pattern all done. You've got your corners clipped. You've clipped in to your curve. You've clipped into your curve. You do not need to clip this. So now you go find your opening. Here it is here. And again, you're going to use your point turner. And you're going to put this all through to the right side. This one's a bit stiffer than the other one previous. With any luck, he'll pop down. Pull it all through. It's quite stiff, this one. You can be quite, oh, guess what? Turn it back. Guess what? Guess what? You use a triple straight stitch because this is really stiff and hard to turn through. You actually stitch it with a triple straight stitch. So now that I've done that beautifully for you, I was thinking, that's not feeling very strong because I straight stitched it. But what I did when I made this was the first one I straight stitched, and I realized when I turned it through that that wasn't going to be strong enough. So I pushed triple straight stitch on my machine. Now triple straight stitch means it's going to go forwards, back and forwards. So it's going to make it stronger. So I've just now put it onto triple straight stitch, and I'm just going to re-stitch around that. And you can see it's going to be a much stronger stitch. So when you're getting to the end, you've got to be careful because it's going forward, back, forward, forward, back, forward, forward, back, forward, forward, back, forward, and 1, 2, 3. So you've got to count. Turn, and it's going to be very strong, this one, because it's going to have 4 stitches. So when I get to this end, slow down, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, turn, whoops, and go all the way to the end. I was thinking I had done something wrong. So triple straight stitch is your friend when you're making these to make it really strong when you turn it through. Because the first one I did, it all fell apart when I tried it. So it needs to be strong. And then on your curve, remember on your curve, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go forward, back, forward till I need to turn. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Hover. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Hover. 1, 2, 3. Hover. 1, 2, 3. Hover. Turn. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I could see that I could do that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I think I can get round now. There we are. Now do the same to the other side. Isn't it lucky that I have a big enough sewing table for me and the cat, is all I have to say. So hover, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, hover, 1, 2, 3, hover, 1, 2, 3, hover, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and now I can probably turn and get the rest of it done. Perfect. And then when I get down to the bottom, slow down to do the corner. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And go all the way down to the side. So just slow down when you get to your corners, and now I won't have any problem with it pulling away. Very narrow on that corner because I've already clipped it. I need to be a bit careful, but that's all right. It'll be strong now. So down to the next corner, the last corner. Slow down. Nice. And now I'll go back to where I was before and we'll turn it through. Once you get your eye in, you can go quite quick anyway because you're following the line of your interfacing. But what I will do, because I'll just find my opening somewhere down here. What I will do is I'll just repress that interfacing because I've already tried to turn it through once to make sure it's nice and strong. We don't want that lifting up. And there's my opening. Okay, cut my work. And the hover's up, and now I'm just going to repress to make sure that interfacing is really, really, really heat set. So your quick and easy thing just was made longer because I messed up. But I like to make mistakes so you learn by my mistakes. That's the truth. It's actually a good thing. And when you iron something, it's like when you bake, you kind of need to leave it to chill out for a minute to make sure that it's just going to cool off a bit so it sets it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put back on my number 10 edge stitch foot. And I'm going to move my tell my machine I've put on the number 10 edge stitch foot. And I'm going to turn this through, press it and top stitch it, and it's, oh, guess what I forgot? Excellent. This was not in the plan, but guess what I forgot? I did this in one of my classes. In the top here, we want to put a loop for our button. So to cheat, because I made a mistake and I forgot, just unpick it in the center part. Get your fabric that's going to be your loop. Haha. Cut your loop, slip it down to here. So this is what you do when you do an oopsie. I knew I did it for a reason. Teaching you how to fix a problem. Slip your loop down through there. Squeeze it. You can go back the other way, but it's so much easier this way. Slip this, oh yes, saying that. If I had a bit of sellotape, I'd have a bit of sellotape to hold that. Come on, that's it. Get your little loop turner. Such a handy little tool. Come up through here. Pull my little loop down. Look at that. Beautiful thing. Squeeze those two little bits together so my loop's nice and even. Problem solved. And triple straight, so I can leave this foot on, and triple straight stitch back over your mistake. Ha! Problem solved. I meant to teach you that all along. There you go. Voila, we've fixed the problem. Oh, cut it. Now, because I've done that, what I would do is I would get my fray check, and I would just fray check just the ends of those braids so that that was sealed and it will never ever fray. So whether it's elastic or anything, whichever you choose to use, on this one here, I'm just showing you, I have got elastic, and I'm going to sew this little music button onto this one like this, and it will elasticize. So you can use little small hair ties, or you can use this little cord that I'm using that'll go over the gold one, but I have used fray check. Now you can't buy fray check anymore, so you need to buy one called Stop Fraying, and I believe, just a second, that one there. So this one's called Stop Fraying, and that's the one that's replacing fray check, so it dries clear. All right, that's the one we're using now. So take two. So now I'm going to turn this all through, press it, top stitch it, and it's finished. And then I can just hand stitch the button on, or machine stitch if it's a flat button. But I really like using a shank button for this, so I hand stitch it. So turn it through. You could leave a bigger opening next time, Robin, but it's still all good. It will get there. It's just really, really stiff, so because I've used a very strong iron-on interfacing. So just give it a good push, and then use your point turner to push it out properly. Don't use scissors. Okay, so I even use the point turner. Look at that beautiful loop we just did. I even use the point turner for all my edges, So when I go in to do my curves, I push it out with my point turner. See, because it makes a really nice edge. And then this point and then this point. And don't be too fussy about it because one's going to tuck under the other one anyway. But just give it a nice little push there, and then down this end, pull this end through. And again, see how nice and curved this is? I'm going to curve that one with my, oh no, go away. With my point turner. I will next time shut my classroom door so we don't get interrupted with a cat. I do apologise, but he wants to be he's very needy today. So I'm pushing this open like that and pushing this one out like that. You do have to be careful with animals around your sewing machine though, because you don't want them to put your finger in there when you're sewing. Now, can you see that's all ready to be pressed now? And because I did my stay stitching, yes, he's gone. Because I did my stay stitching, it will press nice and flat. Okay, so give it a press. And just roll that seam so it's nice and even. These are normally really quick and easy when you do the triple straight stitching the first time. So what happens now, I'll just press it from this side as well. This is what's really good about it. This is all it is. So what you do is you fold one down, so it's coming to here, and this is all going to get enclosed. You fold the other, oh, wrong way. You fold one down and you fold the other one over like this, and all of this is getting top stitched down and you are done. So you just sit it nice and flat, and you sit this bottom bit nice and flat, and you get all your edges together and you clip it and you edge stitch it. Take a bit more time than I am with this piece, but that forms one pocket and this forms the other pocket. Okay, so give that a little press there. So it's a bit flatter. This fabric here is a grunge spot, which I think is quite cute because it's got the gold on it. So now, because I've done this, I can put my edge stitch foot on, just sit it beside the outside of my little pouch, put my needle position to the left, put it on straight stitching, put my needle position to the left, and lengthen it out. I took it off triple straight stitch, by the way. And now I'm going to edge stitch to the left and reverse, but I'm going to edge stitch all of these together now. So when I get down to my piece that's coming across, I make sure that I reverse at that point so it's nice and strong. I come down to the end, needle down, turn my work. If I've gone not far enough, I do one more stitch because it wouldn't turn. Now turn the work and take my clip off, slowly go down across the bottom all the way to the other end, and you've enclosed all of those seams. And I'm only using an 80 needle, I don't need anything heavier. Just pull this across so it's nice and flat, and lift and turn, and then go all the way around to the other side. So you want the same thread top and bottom for this. When you get to here, you may need to just stop and turn around that curve. When you get to your loop, lift the center of your foot up so this whole bar lifts up. Just so it goes over the loop, hold the loop, go around the loop, and then all the way around. Just turn it once, and then when you get here, you can see where you've started with your thread. pull your threads out like that so you can see, and you sew straight down, lift that up again over that bulk and cut your thread. And that's how easy they are to make. I think they're great. There we are. And there you have your little pouch. So you give it a little press and then you hand stitch your button on there. Now just be a little bit careful when you're ironing metallic. When you want to give it a really, really good press, put your mat over top and give it a really good press, because it is metallic that's been put on the fabric and you don't want to put too much heat on that, but you do want to give that a good press when you're finished. And there you have your little pouch. So I now will actually, I've been using this, I will now sew my button on tonight because I use it all the time. It's really handy. So that's just a great little project that you can do. Now I'm just going to tell you something that is really, really important about your machine and about your little caps here. So if I'm using a fabric that's this size, I will make sure that I line up the cap that fits the size. Can I show you like that? So the cap that fits that size. If I'm using a thread that is smaller on the end of it, I'll turn my cap around so this side matches. Okay, so when I'm putting my thread on here, the thread goes all the way to the end, and often, actually, to tell you the truth, I take off these horrible stickers because they gum up this, and I put my cap on so it is not tight, it is loose, and my thread can run. Okay, really, really important, and it's the right size that matches my cap. When I'm not sewing, however, I do not want to push my cap on any more than that, because if you come down and push this cap on, you will stretch it and then you cannot use it. So don't go pushing these caps on when you're not using them. Just have them on the end like that and you won't stretch these caps, because then you have to buy another one. For these felts, if you're using your thread on the top here, you always have a felt on here and you always have a felt on here. Now they do perish, they don't last forever, so make sure that you buy another one if it perishes, and we do sell them singly as well. So it's quite important that you know that. Now I've got one more thing I have to show you. So in this book, this is your autumn 2019 book. You'll all have it if you've been coming to Bernina Club. In it is a really cool little jacket, this one here, and it has a free embroidery that you can download, and the embroidery says Pretty Girls and it gives you a big PG. So I took this idea and I made this little jacket I'm going to show you. So this is it here. And there is the embroidery that I've done. And what I did was I used the wrong side of the fabric for the embroidery, and I have stitched it in grey thread. And to add a little bit of extra, I've actually triple straight stitched. I'm right into triple straight stitching. I've triple straight stitched in between the embroidery just to punch it out. And I've teamed it up with a elastic we sell by the meter. And I've put, this does not fit on this model by the way, it's for a grandchild. And I've put a open end zip in it, and then I've done the embroidery on the front exactly the same, and I've used grey for the sleeves. So when I've sewn this on, I have just used a zigzag stitch and trimmed my fabric back, and I've overlocked my jacket together. And for the pockets, what I've done is, remember I showed you that wonderful trouser last time? I've done exactly the same method for the pocket, but with no top stitching. But inside the pocket, I put the wrong side of the fabric, so when the children put their hand in, it's nice and soft. So I've just simply overlocked around it. This is the right side, and I put the wrong side inside. So you can see, I haven't trimmed it yet. I've just zigzagged on my elastic on the outside. It's a very, very simple method. And for the sleeves, what I do is, if you can see here, I stitch them together and then I straight stitch down both sides to make it strong. And then I get my fray check. I use this for everything, or fray stopper, stop fraying. And I fray check along this edge so that that will never ever fray away. You can imagine children taking it on and off, and you can see it dries clear. And now I know that that will never ever fray, and I've also stitched it down to make it very, very strong, and you can hardly see where I've stitched it. All right, so when I sewed the collar on, however, I couldn't sew it on the outside because I had to shape it. So what I've done is I have stitched the collar the narrowest seam I could possibly do all the way around to here, and my next step is to turn it to this side, and I'm just going to do a zigzag, black on the bottom, pink on the top, and zigzag all the way along there to make that nice and strong, because I've had to cut off my elastic on an angle. So I want to make it nice and strong, so I've done a zigzag stitch and I've made it nice and strong. Now when it comes to stretch fabrics, I'm just going to show you a stitch, and I'll show you on this, because you need to understand, if you're going to be sewing a stretch fabric, you either want to do the stretch stitch or you want to do a zigzag. Now these machine openings are very, very big. That is a 9mm opening. If I use a very soft stretch fabric, it's going to eat it. It's going to go down into the fabric, like this fabric. This soft, really stretchy fabric will get eaten and go down into that hole. So you have the choice on these machines of getting a narrower plate, which is a 5.5mm, or a single hole plate. Now that's only good if you're going to do straight stitch or a very small zigzag. I'm going to put the 5.5mm plate on. That's this one, right? I'm going to put it on my machine. I'm going to tell my machine I put a 5.5mm plate on. I'm going to put my ordinary foot on, and I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to put a put an orange thread so you can see it. And remember, this is a smaller reel. Oh, by the way, this is really important. If you've got a reel of thread that's got jagged pieces to tie your thread in when you're finished, don't put that this way because it can catch the thread. Put the jagged pieces away from you so that you will not catch the thread when you're sewing. Very important. So now I'm going to just show you. I've got, I normally put a stretch or a ballpoint needle in so that I do not get skip stitches. So I've sent you information on those needles. It's very important you use the right needle. Now, if I sew this with a stretch stitch, it would be too strong for the fabric. So what I'm going to do, I'll just do it here. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to put it onto the Bernina stretch stitch. Now I'm going to sew on here. Oops, tell the machine what foot I've got on. There we are. I'm going to sew with the stretch stitch. And because I've put the 5mm plate on, it will let me sew it because it won't eat the fabric because I've taken off the 9mm plate. But, however, what happens is, if you can see, because this is where I was doing it with the big foot and it didn't like it, it's fine. But if I put on the zigzag stitch and take it right down to 1.5, it'll go to 1.5 with 1.5 length, and I stitch it and I cut it. Hopefully you're going to see what I mean. Right. Can you see how the stretch stitch, it goes a bit wavery? But the zigzag, if you can see here, is nice and flat and it's still strong. Okay, so you want to always check your fabric whether you should be using the strong stretch stitch or just a normal zigzag, because that zigzag is enough to make that strong enough that it's not going to break. So when I had my 9mm plate on, it wanted to eat my fabric because the fabric is too soft. So you want to make sure that you use the right plate, the right needle, and the right, obviously, polyester thread, so that you won't get bunching like this and you will not break your thread. Okay? I don't need to use that one because I found that in my rubbish bin. So that is definitely what you want to be careful of. Don't always use a super stretch stitch on your Bernina. Sometimes a simple zigzag is enough, but make sure you use the right needle and the right foot and the right sew plate for the job. So there you go. There are a few ideas for you for this month, and I look forward to seeing you next month. But have a happy Easter and don't eat too many chocolates. See you later.